Shalom. My name is Lori Stark, and I'm a member of Kibbutz Yehel. I made Aliyah more than 30 years ago, and Yehel has been my home since. In order to share with you today the Rabbi Steve Schafer, who I'm so grateful to for influencing my life, I hope I'm able to both let you into my head and also into my heart in the next few moments. Not long ago, I was attending a professional seminar in Israel when the lecturer asked us to think of and then describe to the group a person who had been a mentor in our lives. I immediately thought of Rabbi Steve Schafer. The first time I met Steve Schafer, I was 16 years old and newly elected to my Nifty Regional Board. Steve was the director of the UAHC, now URJ Youth Division, and I was just a high school kid. My youth group experience led me to be both a camper and later counselor at camp. And through those experiences as a teenager, youth group, and camp, I learned to love being Jewish. I know today that I, together with thousands of Reformed Jewish youth and adults across North America and Israel, have Steve to thank for his leadership and insistence that camping be a priority for Reformed Jewish youth. Steve was part pioneer and part rebel. There were many principles, policies, strategies, and things we take for granted today within both NIFTY and the URJ that Steve was the person to set the ball in motion. Steve was a strong role model for me and emulated values of Reform Judaism. He not only spoke and shared those values with us, but he lived them himself. He talked the talk and he walked the walk, literally. Steve's belief in equality between people led him to be an activist in the struggle for civil rights in the 50s and 60s. His passion for social action, tikkun olam, was real and personal, as well as infectious to all of us. He taught us that not only can we change the world, but it's also our responsibility to do so. Steve was a proud Zionist long before it was popular to be supportive of Israel in the Reform movement. With Steve as the director of the UAHC Youth Division, NIFTY in Israel, short-term and long-term study tours began to thrive. Together with Jewish camping experiences, NIFTY trips to Israel became recognized as an important tool in strengthening Jewish identity. Steve brought the first Israeli shlichim to work in the Reform movement, and ARTSA, the Association of Reform Zionists of America, the Zionist lobby of the North American movement, was established through the Youth Division with Steve as the director. Israel was his love and passion. In the early 70s, Steve lobbied support within the leadership of the UAHC for the establishment of the first Reform kibbutz in Israel. That decision was to change my life. It also changed the map of Israel. Steve then set the wheels in motion for the recruitment to and founding of the first Jewish Reform kibbutz. Thus, Kibbutz Yehel was created through the UAHC Youth Division. In North America, he started and supported Garin Arava, the American settlement group to the Reform kibbutzim. That opportunity offered a support group for those planning on making Aliyah together. Today, Kibbutz Yehel and our sister kibbutz, Reform kibbutz, Kibbutz Lotan, as well as Har Chalutz, are established, vibrant communities and thriving. And it all started with a man who not only had the vision, but had the personal drive, commitment, and dedication to turn dreams into reality. Steve was always behind us 100%. After completing a year of study and work on the Joint Youth Division and HUC College Academic Year program at Kibbutz Maleh Chamisha, Steve offered me a job at the UAHC headquarters to run the Shulchan Aliyah, or Aliyah desk, within the Youth Division. I moved to New York and had the adventure of working with Steve and Nina for the year. Steve worked tirelessly around the clock, literally. I lost count of the mornings I came into the office and they hadn't gone home, possibly catching a few hours of sleep on the office sofa. 8 a.m. in New York is 1 a.m. in Israel, perfectly acceptable hours to wind up the previous day's tasks in the world of Steve Schafer. Susie Levine, wife of Rabbi Alan Levine, who was on the other side of the ocean here in Israel, shared with me some of her memories this week. Quote, "When Steve came to Israel, no one slept. His energy was endless and infectious. When they would take him to the airport for his flight back to the States, they would just go home and collapse." Looking back, giving that amount of responsibility to a then 20-year-old, me, seems unlikely in today's world. But Steve truly believed in the power and vision of youth. In Nifty, we quoted the prophet Joel, "The old shall dream dreams, and the youth shall see visions." By that standard, Steve was undoubtedly a perennial youth, seeing visions and making them into reality. On a personal level, Steve was one of the kindest men I knew. I know he was there for me. Moving me to New York at the age of 20, both Steve and Nina became family. Steve was also one of the most humble men I've known. Wealth and riches to Steve weren't financial, they were ideological. He was truly a kibbutznik at heart, and I'm happy to tell you that Steve, together with Nina, did become honorary members of Kibbutz Yahel. In retrospect, I feel blessed to have grown up in the time in history that I did. I feel blessed for having not only mentors in my life, but true heroes. Steve, Alan, Dick, Hank, David, thank you. Rabbi, teacher, counselor, activist, friend, and mentor. Steve taught me it's possible to move mountains. It's possible to change the map. It's possible to make the desert bloom. It's possible to change the world. I know that in all these ways, Steve has touched my life. He has also touched your lives as well. With love and respect.